Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're going to be doing a Evil Twins deck profile. So I'm really excited for this one because we actually just got some amazing new support in Dawn of Majesty for this deck. We even got another new searcher for this particular deck, which is just absolutely crazy. This deck is really fun to play, and I am excited to show you guys this particular deck. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards like getting your name description every single video, getting a signed cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your patron along with test hands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Kiss a Kill. So Kiss a Kill is a really good card in this particular deck. She basically has the ability that each time your opponent or your opponent's monster declares an attack, you gain 500 life points, which is pretty good. And if this card is normal or special summon and you control no other monsters, you get to special summon a Lila monster from your hand or deck, which is really good for this deck to be able to just immediately special summon it out from your deck because this card works off of doing 2 card combos. We then play 3 copies of Live Twins Lila. Live Twins Lila is really good too because she has basically the same exact effect, other than when your opponent's monster declares an attack, your opponent has to pay 500 life points instead of you gaining the 500 life points. But if you control no other monsters, then you get to special summon a Kiss a Kill monster from your hand or deck, which is really good for this particular deck because you're going to be able to just immediately get a link play off because this deck functions off of going into link 2s. We then play 1 copy of Live Twins Kiss a Kill Frost. Kiss a Kill Frost is if you control a little monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, and you can only special summon Live Twins Kiss a Kill Frost once per turn this way, and if a card is added from the main deck to your opponent's hand by a card effect, then while you control a Evil Twins monster, you can banish this card from the graveyard, and then you get to draw a card, which is really good for this deck because basically you're going to go +1 while your opponent goes +1, which helps out the deck a lot. We then play a single copy of Lila Treat. Lila Treat is really good too because if you control a Kiss a Kill monster, then you special summon this card from your hand. And then it also has the ability that when either player takes damage from a battle involving an Evil Twin monster, you can banish this card from the graveyard, target a face-up monster opponent controls, and it lower its attack equal to the amount of battle damage that was taken, which is pretty good to help you in some tight situations, especially to OTK your opponent. This card comes in really handy. And then play 2 copies of Backup Secretary. Backup Secretary still helps out the deck a lot too, because if you control a Cyverse monster, then you special summon this card from your hand, which all of your Live Twin monsters that are the original forms, which is the Kiss a Kill and the Lila, are Cyverse monsters. This card is really good to help special summon it out from the hand to get you into a link 2. We then play 3 copies of Parallel Xyz. The Parallel Xyz helps out the deck a lot too, because it's going to help you go into some really good Xyz play, or not Xyz plays, but into link plays in this deck, because basically what this card does is if you link summon on your side of the field, then you get to special summon this card from your hand and special summon another Parallel Xyz from the deck, but they both become level 4, which is pretty good for the deck to help you go into some really good link plays in this particular build. I then play a single copy of Artifact Scythe. Artifact Scythe helps out the deck a lot because it can lock out your opponent from the extra deck by special summoning these card on your opponent's turn. It can be set as a spell or trap card, which is really helpful, and you're usually going to special summon this card out with your copy of your Artifact Sanctum, which is really good for this particular build. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. The Ash Blossoms are basically here to just stop your opponent from touching the deck, and this card comes in really handy at stopping your opponent's shenanigans. We then play 2 copies of Ghost Bell, because Ghost Bell is going to stop your opponent from touching the graveyard, which again helps out the deck a lot. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Live Twins Home. I've actually bumped this card down to 2 because this deck has so many searchers, you just need 2 copies of it. It has the ability to discard a card to special summon a Kiss a Kill or a Lila monster from your deck. And also for the rest of the turn after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except Evil Twin monsters. You only effect this card once per turn. It's a really good card, don't get me wrong, but the discard cost makes you go -1, and then also locking you into only Evil Twin monsters is a little bit of a downside, so I did bump this card down to 1. But it is a quick play spell, so you can set it and then activate it during your opponent's end phase, which helps out the deck a little bit. We then play 3 copies of Secret Password. Secret Password lets you add a Live Twins or Evil Twins spell or trap from your deck to your hand, and if you control a Kiss a Kill monster or a Lila monster, you can add an Evil Twin monster from your deck to your hand instead, which is really good to just be able to add an Evil Twins monster from your deck to your hand. This card is really, really good for this deck and is just an overall fantastic card. We then play 3 copies of the new Live Twins Sunny's Snitch. This card is one of the best cards in the entire deck. Now, I love this card in this deck. And what it does is when this card is activated, you can add a Live Twins monster from your deck to your hand. And then while you control an Evil Twins monster, each time your opponent normally special summons a monster, you gain 2 life points. If you do, you inflict 200 damage to your opponent, which is really good because basically, they're going to be taking a lot of 200s. Like, that's really good for this deck to just get that effect, because it's basically like playing Trick Stars at that point. So that's it for the spells, guys. You don't play very many spells in this deck. It's actually primarily trap focused, which is pretty good. So for the traps, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Trap Trick. Trap Trick helps out the deck a lot because it's going to basically like playing extra copies of every single trap that's a normal trap in this particular deck to be able to just give you additional copies of those cards, help out a lot. We then play 2 copies of Evil Twins Challenge. Evil Twins Challenge is basically kind of like a Monster Reborn. Let's target a Kiss a Kill monster or a Lila monster in the graveyard and special summon it, then immediately apply the effect to be able to immediately link summon into a Evil Twins Link monster using monsters you control as materials. This card will become infinitely better once we get the Link 4, which is why I'm just going ahead and playing this card as a 2 of in this build. We play 3 copies of Ice Dragon Prison. Ice Dragon Prison is just a really good trap card right now. This card is probably going to get a reprint in the next Megaton, or in this coming Megaton, which is why I'm just going to go ahead and play it. It will probably become a budget option soon, but basically this card lets you target a monster in your opponent's graveyard and special summon it to your field, but its effects are negated, and then you can banish 1 monster from both players' fields that have the same type as each other, which is really good to just give you a monster and be able to banish a combo piece that your opponent's trying to summon onto their field. We then play 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence because it's a fantastic hand trap that's going to negate a monster's effect on the field, which is just really, really good. And plus it's searchable with trap tricks in a tight situation where you might need it. And then we play 3 copies of Artifact Sanctum as well. The Artifact Sanctum is really good because it's going to let you use your copy of Scythe to lock your opponent completely down from the extra deck. So I really, really like this card in the deck to help out, to just have more control aspect, and grabbing it with Trap Trick is just really, really easy. So that's it for the traps, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Evil Twins Kiss a Kill. Kiss a Kill is fantastic in the extra deck. She has the ability that it takes 2 monsters, including a Kiss a Kill monster, to go into this card. And if this card is special summon, if you control a Lila monster, you can draw a card. And then during main phase, if you do not control a Lila monster, quick effect, you can special summon a Lila monster from the graveyard. And also, you cannot special summon a monster from the extra deck for the rest of the term, except Fiend monsters, which is not that big of a deal because the majority of the stuff you're playing in the extra deck is Fiends anyways. We then play 3 copies of Lila. Lila is really good too. You can play her at 2 or you can play her at 3. I just play 3 copies of it because I have 3 copies of her and she helps out the deck a lot to play 3, but you can bump it down to 2 if you have a card that you want to throw into the extra deck. But what this card does is if this card is special summoned and you control a Kiss a Kill monster, then you get to target 1 card on the field and destroy it, which is really good to just be able to destroy a card on the field. And then during the main phase, if you do not control a Kiss a Kill monster, quick effect, you can special summon a Kiss a Kill monster from the graveyard, and you can only use the effect of this card once per turn, and you can't special summon cards from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except Fiend monsters, which again is not that big of a deal because a lot of the stuff you're going to be special summoning is Fiend monsters anyways. We then play 1 copy of Unchained Abomination, which at this point I kind of just view this as their pet because you're basically just going to summon this card all the time, and I just imagine them like walking this card on a leash. Like, it's just amazing. What this card does is if this card, or if a card on the field is destroyed by a card effect except by this card's effect, then you get to target a card on the field and destroy it. And when another monster on the field is destroyed by battle, you can destroy a card on the field. And then during the end phase, you can target a card on the field, and just because, you can destroy that card too. So this card literally pops 3 cards per turn, has the potential to pop 3 cards per turn, which is just really, really good. And then you're going to summon this card all the time in this deck because it's just so easy, and it's a 3k beat stick that's just going to be constantly just popping cards over and over again. We then play a single copy of Nightmare Griffin because Nightmare Griffin helps out the deck a lot because there's combos in the deck that have its last ability go off that special summon monsters on the field cannot activate their effects unless they're linked, which is really easy to actually do because all you have to do is use one of your evil twin monsters to point at it sometimes, and it's really, really good to do that because it will lock down and basically be skill drain. We play a single copy of Access Code Talker because it's a good card to actually use to pop cards. This card could be a copy of Borreload or Borrelsword, which is really a budget option for you guys if you're looking for more of a budget option for this particular card. But currently, this card's about to get a reprint in the Megatons, probably, so we're not too worried about this card as an expensive card because it is going to get reprinted. We then play a single copy of Unicorn because it's going to spin stuff, and it is a Fiend monster, as is all of your Nightmare monsters. This card comes in really, really handy. We play a single copy of Phoenix because it pops spells and traps. One copy of IP Masquerena because it's going to let you link summon during your opponent's turn, which is really helpful to go into a copy of Nightmare Griffin during your opponent's turn, or even into a copy of Unicorn during your opponent's turn. One copy of Sky Cavalry because all of your monsters that are in the main deck that are your live twin monsters are level 2, so you can actually go into this card and can't be destroyed by battle, and it helps you go into Zeus. During main phase 2, you can actually use this card to overlay into a copy of Downer Magician, and then go into a copy of AA Zeus, which is really awesome because AA Zeus will have essentially 4 materials to go into this card using Downer Magician, Sky Cavalry with its 2 original materials, and then go into Zeus to have a 4 material Zeus to pop twice on the field, which is really good for this deck. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a really fun deck to play around with. I highly recommend if you guys have not played with Evil Twins. It's not a super expensive deck besides the copies of the Ice Dragon's Prison, the AA Zeus, and the Access Code Talker, which can be changed out for other budget alternatives. But again, all of those cards should be getting reprints in the Megatons, so I wouldn't worry about it all that much right now. But if you want to change those out, you can change them out for like Compulsory Evacuation Device, Borreload, Borrelsword, other Fiend cards like the Underworld Goddess, and even changing out for the Link 1 Cyverse cards like Link Devotee and Link Disciple are other options for you guys if you want to go that route as well. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome awards, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.